So it says that Donna redeems a 10% off coupon at her local nursery. That's not for babies, that's for flowers. Okay. After buying azaleas, whatever that flower is that I don't even know how to pronounce, I'm just going to skip it because it really has no effect on what I do to solve this question. And the bags of potting soil, her checkout price before tax is $217.95. How much should she have paid without the coupon? Okay. So what is it that we're looking for? What is the unknown? What does it ask for? How much she should have paid without the coupon, right? That's your original price. So what I'm going to do is I always like to label what I'm calling my variable so that when I go back and answer my question, I know that that's what I'm looking for. So just out to the side somewhere, I'm just going to put that X is going to represent my original price. Okay, so X is the original price. What did it cost before that discount? Now think about when you go out and you buy something. If you have a discount, are you adding that price, that discount, or subtracting it from your original price? Subtracting, okay. So the way we do this is we take the original price, we subtract the discount, and that will result in what we pay, right? Okay, and I'm saying it like this because it seems like sometimes people have issues with solving questions like this. But anyway, so what did we call the original price? What's it say? What's my original price? X, okay. So I'm going to start there with X minus, do we know how to figure the discount? Like we know it's 10%, but what is it 10% of? Close. You're taking 10% of the original price, right? So how do I figure out, think about our original price, we're using X to represent. How do I figure out 10% of X? We multiply, okay? What is 10% as a decimal? 0.10 or 0.1, either one, right? I'm going to put 0.10 just because that looks better when I'm talking about 10%. And then if I'm trying to find 10% of the original price, I take and I multiply that by the original price. And then that is going to result in what I actually pay. So your original price minus your discount is going to give you what you pay. In this case, I don't know how much my discount is. I know it's 10% of the original price. I just don't know how much it is. Okay, so then it's going to equal what we actually paid, which is $217.95. And if you don't have a calculator, you're probably going to want one because several of these are going to have decimals that you need to do it. So if you need to come grab a calculator, let's do that real quick. So my equation, again, is the original price, which we don't know, we're calling it X, minus my discount, which we have to represent as 10% times X, or 0.10 times X. And that is going to result in how much I actually paid, which is $217.95. So let's solve this equation. I have X minus 0.10X. What's in front of the first X?
1.
A 1. So we're going to do 1 minus 0.10. Which is how much? 0.9. You can put 0.90 or 0.9. Either way, it doesn't matter. Okay. I'm going to keep it with the 90 just because we're talking about money here. Okay, these don't necessarily have fractions in them, but they are equations. Some of them might end up with fractions. Some of them might have decimals, but they are equations. And then if I have 0.9 or 0.90x equals 217.95, how do I solve from here? Divide by 0.9. Yep. So let's do that. Let's divide both sides by 0.9. Or 0.90, either way, whatever you're writing, they're the same. Let's see. Now, do you guys get a pretty long decimal on your screen? We're talking about money. How many decimal places is money? 2, and we always round up. With money, you always round up. But we're just going to stick to the normal rounding prices. But if you were actually figuring this as like paying, they usually round up. But we'll stick to our normal rounding. So it's going to be how much? 242.17. Yeah. Okay, 242.17. So again, we're going to stick to, even with money, normally when you're dealing with actually calculating money in the store, they're going to round it up, but we'll stick to our normal rounding rules. Okay, if it's 5 or higher, you go up. If it's 4 or less, you stay. Does that make a little bit of sense to everybody? So we paid $242.17, or we should have paid that without the 10% discount. So anytime you have anything talking about a discount, you're going to have your original price, which most of the time you're not going to know, minus your discount is going to equal what you actually paid. Is everybody kind of okay with that? All right. Very similar type of question, so if you'll take a minute. Again, if you don't write down the entire question, write down the important information so that you kind of know where your equation came from. These are your notes. This is what you're going to study with, so I'm not going to check them and make sure, oh, did they copy down everything? But you need to copy down what it's going to require for you to know what to look back on when you study. And also, in questions, if they're describing something and you don't understand or you don't know what it is they're describing about, most of the time, that doesn't have any effect on how you solve the question. Okay? Like, for example, the flowers up there that I don't even know how to say. It doesn't really matter what kind they are, just as long as I can figure out how much they were going to cost. So think about this one very similar to how you did the last one. We are looking for the original price. So that's what we're going to call X. And it's always your original price minus your discount is going to equal what you actually pay. My original price is what we're looking for, so that's the unknown. That's what we're going to call X. This time I have a 15% discount, and the new price is $125,000. Builder of tract homes reduced the price of a model by 15%. The new price is $125,000. What was the original price? So again, I like to label what I'm calling X, just so that I know when I'm done if I answered the question or not. So we're going to go X, our original price, minus, remember to find the discount, it's the percentage times the original price. How do I write 15% as a decimal? 0.15, yep. And that's going to be multiplied by X, my original price. And then that is going to equal my new price of $125,000. Okay, so keep going there. Finish it out. And again, we're using normal rounding rules. Even though it's money, they usually round up, but we're going to stick to rounding normally. We are talking about money, so make sure you give the cents. What is 1 minus 0.15? 0.85.
Mm-hmm. And then what are we going to do? Divide. And this time, my original price should be how much? $147. $147,000. Sorry, $58.82. There you go. 147,058.82. 147,058.82. Everybody kind of okay with that? The reason I'm trying to make sure is because last year when we did these, it was, for some reason, we kept having issues on these kinds of problems. Original price, which is normally X, minus your discount, your percent times X, equals what you actually pay. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay. Take a minute, write that one down. Switching gears just a little bit, sometimes we'll be given problems that will describe a number and we're going to find that number. We just have to make sure we set up our equations properly and then go through the methods of solving like we know how to do with solving equations. If it involves fractions, we know what to do there because we've done that. If it doesn't, we should know what to do there as well. Find a number such that 10 less than 2/3 of the number is 1/4 of the number. So we're finding a number that satisfies this description. 10 less than 2/3 the number is 1/4 the number. 10 less than 2/3 of the number is 1/4 of the number. What are we looking for? What does it tell us to find? What's my X going to be? What does it say at the beginning? Find what? The number. So X is going to be some number. Ooh, that is not writing well. Okay, so again, we have to think about how to set up 10 less than 2/3 of the number is 1/4 of the number. Let's talk about the less than because that's one that always messes us up. If I say I have $20 and you tell me you have 10 less than I do, are you going to say 10 minus 20 or 20 minus 10? 20 minus 10. Those less than words, okay, when you're talking about setting up an equation, less than means you're going to subtract. But it's going to be reversed. 10 less than means something minus 10. Okay? What are we 10 less than? 2/3 the, 2/3 what? The number. How do I find 2/3 of something? What'd you say? Close. Multiply. Think about last time when we found 15% of the original price or 10% of the original price, we multiply those. So 2/3 of a number is going to be represented as 2/3 times X. It's how much less than that? 10. So then we're going to put minus 10. Is, what does is mean in a word problem for math? Equals. And then how do I represent 1/4 the number? 1/4 times X. Yes, perfect. Okay. So that statement right there represents 10 less than 2/3 the number. You have to remember that less than means you have to switch the order. The 10 is going to come second. Whatever it's less than is going to come first. So our equation should be 2/3 X minus 10 equals 1/4 X. what do we want to do first before we start solving? What do I want to get rid of? The fractions. So this is just like what we did on Thursday and Friday. Do I have any variables in my denominators? No, so I don't need restrictions. So let's look at our denominators. 3 and 4. What would my common denominator be? What's the number that both 3 and 4 go into? 12. So multiply this entire thing by 12 for me. If this would work properly, it might help. Okay, I'm going to multiply everything through by 12. Start by multiplying 12 times 2/3. And if you remember kind of how we did it last week, the way we would think through it, if you're not going to use your calculator for the fractions. Remember what we did? We said, how many times does 3 divide into 12? 4. So that 3 goes away. The 12 turns into 4. And then I multiply what's left. 4 times 2 times x is going to be 8x, yep. Bring down that minus sign. Don't forget that that 10 wants to be multiplied by the 12 as well. Even though it's not a fraction, it still gets multiplied. What is that going to be? 120. And then we want to multiply 12 times 1/4. How many times does 4 go into 12? 3. Okay, so 4 disappears. That 3's left. 3 times 1 times x is just 3x. Okay, keep going. Finish solving this equation. Let's figure out what that number is. I'm going to move my 8x over with that 3x so that I can get all the x's together. Keep that constant term by itself. 3 minus 8 is -5. Then we're going to just divide by -5. And what is x? What is the number in this case? Sorry. My brain was not wanting to work early this morning. So my number that is 2/3, or is 10 less than 2/3, and also is equal to 1/4 of that number. So, yes. What happens when it's Monday morning and I told you my brain's not working? Try that one more time. Come on. There we go. 24. Sorry. So 24 satisfies the equation. 10 less than 2/3 the number is equal to 1/4 the number. Does that make a little bit of sense? Sort of, kind of. Take a minute and write this one down. We're going to have to talk about this a little bit. There's a couple things we need to make sure we understand. Okay. Okay, send it on. Thanks. Bye. Just take the green basket. It's 2 numbers. How many numbers is it asking me to find here? 2. Okay, so what we have to do is we're going to have to represent both of the unknown numbers. And so when we have cases like this, I just call one the first number and one the second number. Okay, first number, second number. Now we have to break down what it is we're looking for. First of all, we're looking for 2 consecutive even integers. So we need to talk about what that means. We all know what even numbers are, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. What does it mean to be consecutive? Like consistently in a row, right? One right after the other. So like what I just said, 2, 4, 6, 8 goes on forever, right? What we need to keep in mind is the word integer. Does everybody remember what an integer is? It's a whole number, positive or negative. No fractions, no decimals. So if I solve this and I get a fraction or a decimal, is that a valid answer? No, okay. So what we do need to think about is how we represent both of them. We're trying to use the same variable because we're not doing systems of equations with 2 different variables. So we want to represent both the first and the second number with an x, some sort of x with something with it, okay? So what we do is the first one we don't know anything about, so we're just going to call it x. Oops. Try that one more time. Okay. But what I need you to think about is if this were my first integer, what am I going to have to do to get to the next one? Add 2. Do I add 2 to get to the third one? And I add 2 to get to the fourth one. Let me ask you a question. What if I changed this and said consecutive odd? Would it be the same? How many am I adding from here to here? Isn't that what I added from here to here? Okay. So whether it says consecutive even or consecutive odd, when you represent your first one as x, the second one is always going to be that x, what? Plus 2. Okay, people think odd, so they think I need to add 1. That's not the case. The difference between every odd number is 2, just like the difference between every even number is 2. Make sense? A little bit? Okay, so the first number is x, the second number is x plus 2. Let's read what it says. It says 4 times the smaller. Which one is smaller, x or x plus 2? X. So we're going to go 4 times my smaller number, 4 times x. What does is mean? Equals 2 more than. What does more than mean? Plus. Okay, so we're going to go 2 plus. Does it matter if I do 2 plus or something plus 2? No, addition doesn't matter. Subtraction does. Addition does not. 2 more than, what does it say? 3 times the larger. What's the larger number? Okay, if I want to multiply 3 by that, what do I need to put the x plus 2 in? Parentheses. Okay. Again, 4 times the smaller, that's just x, so 4 times x, is, which is equals, 2 more than 2 plus 3 times the larger. The larger one is going to be x plus 2. Take a minute and finish solving that for. Keep in mind, it has to be an integer. If it is not a positive or negative whole number, then we have an issue. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a positive or negative whole number. If I get a fraction or a decimal, that answer is not a valid answer. Quick question. In solving this, what do I do first? Do I do 2 plus 3 or do I multiply 3? You got to distribute. Multiplication comes before addition. So that 2 is going to stay where it is. We're going to distribute that 3 to the x and to the 2. I'm going to combine my like terms. I'm going to subtract. But remember, how many answers am I supposed to be finding here? 2. So once you find x, you're not completely finished. Did you guys get x equals 8? Okay, so my first number is going to be 8, which means my second number is going to be 10. Those are integers, they are consecutive, and they are even. So my answers are 8 and 10. So I can tell you this, and we're not finished yet, but on the quiz, you'll have a discount question, which we've done. You'll have a question of find a number, which is like what we just did on the question before this. And you'll have one finding 2 consecutive, either even or odd numbers. And then we'll have one like this. So I'm going to give you a minute to write this one down. This is the last one.
So for like the first one, you just put X, and for the second one, you put X plus 2. What was that?
Okay, so to go from one number, even number to the next, like for example, to go from here, I have to add 2 to get to the next even number. I have to add 2. So that's why we did the first one we didn't know. We just called it X.
Oh,
And to get to the next one, it would just be adding 2 to that.
that makes sense.
Does that make a little sense? So like I said, on the quiz, you're going to have a discount question. You're going to have a question that says find the number. You'll have one with consecutive even or consecutive odd. And then we'll have a perimeter question. Find the perimeter of a triangle. Okay, first question. How do you find the perimeter of anything? What do I do to all the sides? You add them, okay. How many sides does a triangle have? 3, okay. So at least we know that much. We know perimeter means add them all up. Triangle is 3 sides. It says one side is 11 inches. Another is 1/5 the perimeter. And the third side is 1/4 of the perimeter. So what is it it's asking us to find? What's my X going to be? What does it say? Find the perimeter. Okay. And for me on these perimeter questions, what I tend to do is draw a picture because I like to see things and then be able to label it. So I'm going to draw myself a triangle. It doesn't really matter what the triangle looks like as long as it has 3 sides like every triangle does. Okay, what does it tell me about one side? It's 11, just plain old 11, right? So I'm going to label one of them 11. The next side, it says 1/5 of the perimeter. So how would I write that? 1/5 X. What about the third side? What does it say about it? 1/4 of the perimeter. So that would be 1/4 X. Okay. So I have my picture. I have everything labeled. I need to think again about what we said the perimeter is. The perimeter means adding up the lengths of all of the sides, right? So what did we say the first side was? 11. And then one of the other ones we said was? And then the other one was? And that's going to equal my perimeter, which we're calling X. Finish it. Solve it for x. A lot of the times with these perimeter questions, they're going to ask you for the sides of a figure, but in this case, they're asking for the perimeter. This equation has fractions, so we're going to need to get rid of those fractions like we did last week, last couple of days. Figure out what is my common denominator. What do I need to multiply by to get rid of those fractions? It doesn't give me any specific details as to what type of number my perimeter should be. No, so that means I can do fraction. I can get a decimal, get all one for anything. Could I get a negative number for perimeter? No. Negative numbers when I'm talking about how long something is. First thing we need to do is figure out what number do both of my denominators go into? What is my common denominator that I want to multiply by? What goes into both, I'm sorry, what does 5 and 4 both go into? 20. Don't forget that 20 needs to be multiplied by every piece of the equation. I see some people forgetting a part. Let's start with this one. 20 times 11 is 220 plus, what is 1/5 x times 20? Plus, what is 1/4? Oh, I forgot my x there. What is 1/4 x times 20? 5x. And then what I did see is a few people are forgetting that x needs to be multiplied as well. 20 times x is just 20x. We are going to combine our like terms. We are going to solve by subtracting that 9 over with the 20. And then we can divide both sides by 11. And what is the perimeter going to be?